Lancaster County, a school board is changing its meeting format to avoid a lawsuit. From now on, praying is off the agenda. CBS 21's Chris Papps live now at the Lancaster County Mobile Newsroom in East Hempfield Township with the story. Chris.
Well, Rob, the Eastern Lancaster County School District was the only school district left in this county that would still pray before school board meetings. But it has decided to cancel that tradition instead of spending taxpayer dollars to fight for it in court.
I think initially the will of the board would have been to challenge it. However, the solicitor made it pretty clear that we would lose.
For the past 15 years, the school board for the Eastern Lancaster County Schools would say a short prayer before its monthly meetings. The board thought it was okay because the prayer happened before the meetings officially began. But that was not the case. A few months ago, after being tipped off by a local resident, the Freedom from Religion Foundation sent the board a letter demanding they stop praying. The nonprofit based out of Madison, Wisconsin, cited a recent court decision which said prayer at school board meetings is unconstitutional. In the original letter sent to the school, Freedom from Religion wrote, quote, "Prayer at public school board meetings is unnecessary, inappropriate, and divisive. Calling upon board members as well as parents and students of the school to pray is coercive, embarrassing, and beyond the scope of our secular school system."
Rather than take funds that are critical to educating kids, particularly in this economy, and also give that money to the coffers of these kinds of organizations, the board made a logical and intelligent decision, I think, to back off of their position.
So now, instead of prayer, the school board will begin each meeting with a moment of silence.
And of course, that moment of silence is all those voices that were silenced by a strong minority. Of course, all the anti-defamation leagues and all that, secularists. I mean, that's cool and everything. That's fine, you know. Like, I kind of agree with that statement, being coerced into the prayer before meetings. However, this is supposedly Lancaster County. This is where Amish live. This is where there's usually, usually outside. I just came from an Amish town. I lived there for a year. And a lot of the people, if not most of the people that aren't Amish, are religious. So, it's just ridiculous, and it's like, yeah, then the taxpayers are going to have to foot the bill, for this lawyer, for this getting sued and stuff like that. So that's the way it goes. This is the new. It says here, high school to collect students' hair for mandatory drug testing. A Kansas City school will begin collecting hair from students to conduct mandatory drug tests. It reports that the Rockhurst High School, it's actually a private school, just so you know, so people voluntarily choose to put their kids in there. So they start the random drug test during the 2013-14 school year. So it goes on here and says, in the world of black and white and good and bad, good guys and bad guys, our point is, if this is the principle, if we do encounter a student who has made some bad decisions with drugs or alcohol, we will be able to intervene, get the parents involved, and get him help if necessary, and then help him back on the path of a better decision-making, healthier choices for his life. So it goes on there, it says it's going to take 60 strands of hair and stuff for the test. Then we have a 7-year-old handcuffed over $5. The family of a 7-year-old New York boy is suing police in a city for $250 million, saying cops handcuffed and interrogated the boy for 10 hours after a scuffle over lunch money at the school. And the cops said that they didn't, the people that are filing the suit are exaggerating the time for 10 hours. You probably didn't sit there for 10 hours like that, but who knows, But this is how it is, guys. I mean, it's not like the olden days where you get, the worst thing you want if you're in school is to have the school call your parents and have the family resolve it, because it's just, you just don't want that. Whether for me, it was usually I got grounded for 2 weeks at a time and had to write essays, 1,000-word essays in grade school, mind you. So I had an incentive not to do this stuff. But if I did get in a fight, at least my parents would say, my dad, well, did you defend yourself? I didn't get a lot of fights, but you just want to know you didn't just sit there and take it. And instead of that, they just want you to take it. They want you to be peaceful, and everything's a big utopia. So now, instead of doing that, they train the youth that, hey, the cops are going to come get you at school. Everything at school. Now they got cops at the doors and everything, cops there. And everywhere you go, there's cops. So And so now they're going to be used to throwing kids into jail and stuff like that. So it says here they got in a fight with a fellow student in December after he was accused of taking $5 of lunch money that had fallen on the ground in front of him. 6-year-old expelled for bringing plastic gun to school. So the stories keep popping up almost every day now. Kindergarten at Alice Drive Elementary, Sumter, has been expelled from school for bringing a clear plastic gun to class. Last time it was a Lego gun, right? Getting in trouble over a Lego gun. So he was expelled on January 7th. But it says, update, girl allowed back in class. The problem began when they grabbed her brother's airsoft gun to bring in for show and tell. I chose to bring it to school because I thought it would show my friends it might be something they might like seeing it. So it says here, her dad, Hank, says he and her mother didn't see what she chose to bring until getting a call from the school. So the dad said that you have to show some kind of judgment. I know there is a lot of going on with guns in schools, and that is tragic, but a 6-year-old bringing a toy to school doesn't know better. Instead of being in school, Naomi is now spending time with her dad at the furniture store, says, which is probably actually better for her out of the indoctrination camp. The Sumter County School District weapon policy says the presence of weapons or lookalikes is not allowed, stating that the board will expel any student who brings a weapon to school, saying, I'm sorry, anything can be a weapon. Hank says, this is what the dad's saying, a pencil is more of a weapon than a toy gun she brought to school. So, but I just heard in the local news today about, that whole exercise that was going on where they're going to be shooting blanks from a starter gun. There was there was a lot of people that were kind of angry about that, but actually Schaumburg and Palestine outside Chicago, they're actually all for that, and they're going to actually do that. And what I didn't know is actually they're required by the state of Illinois to carry out these scary exercises that scare the crap out of people for shooters and that. And I'm not. Then we have local troops could decide for themselves whether to change their membership policy or continue to exclude gays. As early as next week, the Boy Scouts of America may announce it will allow gay scouts and troop leaders. A spokesman for the group had told USA Today, if this policy shift is approved by the National Board meeting next week, it will be a sharp reversal of the Scouts' decades-old national policy banning homosexuals. So, I like the South Park episode on this. It really does tell the way I agree with, which is, if that's their normal policy that they don't want it, then they don't want it. But see, they're doing this because they're being coerced, most likely. So, Girl Scouts had a pro-abortion conference with Planned Parenthood. So it goes on here and it says that time for American parents to wake up to the fact that the Girl Scouts were hijacked by the liberal feminist agenda a long time ago and put their daughters in a safe conservative alternative like American Heritage Girls instead. It goes on here that Rebecca always reveals at Life News that as the 20th anniversary of the International Conference on Population Development approaches, abortion activists are marking out their priorities for governments to adopt for the next 20 years. It says to that end, the UN Population Fund, along with various non-governmental organizations, ICPD Global Youth Forum in Bali last week, touted by sponsors as an unprecedented opportunity to influence global policy. So the participants were pre-selected by the event organizers, which wanted to ensure uniformity of opinion. According to the UN population, this UNFPA, 600 youth delegates attended, a third fewer than the anticipated 900, with approximately 2,500 additional online participants. It goes on here, this Robert Skinner of the UN Foundation began one morning session by optimistically attributing the many empty seats to people being out there making connections, making friends, and having fun, and that's what it's all about. But it goes on here, it says, the organizers' priorities were clear from the opening statements given by 2 youth members of the steering committee, both of whom were employed by pro-abortion organizations. They urged that safe abortion services be accessible to young women and that gender should be viewed as not in a binary. A definition of binary is a whole composed of 2. Also on the steering committee were representatives of the International Planned Parenthood Federation, the World YWCA, they keep calling it, and the World Association of Girl Scouts and Girl Guides, as well as members of the Indonesian government that hosted the event. Another story, like I said, that usually has happened about once a week, is now happening every day. Student teacher injured in Atlanta school shooting. At least 2 people have been injured in a shooting at the school in the U.S. state of Georgia in the latest gun violence in the country. Prince or Price Middle School. Someone asked me to do a video or just cover the thing in Arizona, the shooting where the guy took the kid hostage and went in some kind of bunker. I can't remember. Like I said, I can't even keep up with the amount of shootings that are occurring now and stuff like that. But whatever that one was, I haven't really seen much in the realm of conspiracy around that. So it may just be what it is, which is that they had the law coming after him, and he decided to take a hostage. So, but I do agree with that commenter and that viewer, is that you know, anything that demonizes people that are, quote, anti-government, not that they're going to take down the government, but just that they're not exactly exasperated and patriotic about everything that they're doing to their people and doing to other people in their name. And of course, preppers. Demonizing preppers. There's some crazy crap that goes on with that as well. Shutting down YouTube channels and getting raids by the feds. Homeland Security has advice for confronting mass murders. So remember, we were just covering this report from Texas, along with other reports that you should just lie down on the ground, play dead. Says here that you should grab scissors. So it says here, is your workplace getting shot up by a crazed gunman? No problem, just grab a pair of scissors and fight back. So that was the helpful advice and a new instructional video from the Department of Homeland Security that was posted on the agency's website just a month after the massacre at Sandy Hook. If you're caught in the open and cannot conceal yourself, take cover, you might consider trying to overpower the shooter with whatever means are available. So the video titled Options for Consideration also advises that people who get caught in an active shooter situation should run away, hide under a desk, or take cover out of the line of fire. Doctors killed 2,400% more Americans than all gun-related deaths combined. Everyone agrees that Sandy Hook shooting was a tragedy, but it goes on here, lots of people subsequently exploited the deaths of those children to push a political agenda of disarming Americans by claiming guns kill people. But it says, but compared to what? Swimming pools to kill people, horseback riding kills people, and even, yes, even childbirth kills people. Does that mean we should criminalize getting pregnant? You are 64 times more likely to be killed by your doctor than by someone else wielding a gun. That's because 19,000 of the total 31,000 gun deaths in the USA in the year 2011 were suicides. If assault weapons are bad, why does the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, want to buy 7,000 of them for, quote, personal defense? So DHS is seeking to acquire 7,000 NATO personal defense weapons, also known as assault weapons, when owned by civilians. So I've never seen this website, so I don't know how much credibility there is to it, or this forum of you know, supposedly Green Berets. But there's a letter that's written here by one of them, and it's signed by over 1,000 Green Berets. But an interesting point that they make here is, first, it says we need to set the record straight on a few things. The current debate is over so-called assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. The terms assault weapon and assault rifle are often confused. So according to these individuals, Kobayashi and Olson, writing in the Stanford Law and Policy, prior to 1989, the term assault weapon did not exist in the lexicon of firearms. It is a political term, underline added for emphasis, developed by anti-gun publicists to expand the category of assault rifles. The M4A1 carbine is a U.S. military service rifle. It is not an assault rifle. Says the AR-15 is not an assault rifle. The AR in its name does not stand for assault rifle. It's the designation from the first 2 letters of the manufacturer's name, Armalite Corporation. The AR-15 is designed so that it cosmetically looks like the M4A1 carbine assault rifle, but it is impossible to configure it to become a fully auto rifle. It is a single-shot semi-automatic rifle that can fire between 45 to 60 rounds per minute, depending on the skill of the operator. The M4A1 can fire up to 950 rounds per minute. So it goes on here and it says, in 1986, the federal government banned the import or manufacture of new fully automatic firearms to civilians. Therefore, the sale of assault rifles are already banned or heavily restricted. And he then goes to the high-capacity magazines debate or argument. So he goes in here and he says that as experts in military weapons of all types, it is considered opinion that reducing magazine capacity from 30 rounds to 10 will only require an additional 6 to 8 seconds to change 2 empty 10-round magazines with full magazines. So he says, would an increase of 6 to 8 seconds make any real difference to the outcome of a mass shooting incident? he goes in there and he talks about basically back in the day, the Columbine shooting, where the guy just brought a bunch of magazines.